Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Miller coming on live today to share with you a process to manage and overcome fear. And I'm really excited to talk about this. It's a topic that I'm super passionate about, and it is coming up for me to speak on because it came up a few different times last week with three different sort of groups of people. And so, what that lets me know, just a reminder that fear is something that we all sometimes feel, no matter where we are in our career, whether we are just getting started, maybe graduating college or early on in our career, up and coming, or we could be a tenured professional. We could even be a people leader, and still sometimes we experience elements of fear. And while we may be in different places along our path, the steps to the process to managing and overcoming fear is the same for everyone. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And last week, or maybe, yeah, last week or the week before, kind of running together now, but I did a lecture and a motivational lecture and interactive workshop at a college. So this was a group of students, so career up and comers, and I shared with them three outcome goals that I wanted them to take away from our time together. And then I asked by show of hands which topic or outcome goal resonated the most with everyone, and they all resonated. So I was glad to see that, but I was really excited to see that either almost all hands or everyone or most of the group was very interested in learning a process to manage and overcome fear. And I was excited to see that. I think mostly just because of how honest they all were. And then so there was that group of individuals, so career up and comers. And then I was also having a conversation with a people leader. So this is someone who is highly regarded and respected in their field, successful in sales, successful in leadership, really likable person as well. And he was sharing with me how sometimes he will have fear and anxiety in professional settings. And then I was also talking with a candidate, and she is a stellar individual as well. She's tenured in her career. She's had a lot of success. She is well regarded by her peers in her current organization as well as her customers. But she's interviewing, and she said to me, I'm such a happy, positive, motivated, high vibe kind of person with this positive outlook every day. And I don't understand why I can't be this way, be myself in interviews. So we didn't get too deep into it. Maybe I'll have a chance to explore that a little bit further with her another time. But what that tells me is that there's an element of fear, even for her, even though she's been successful in her career, still she can feel uncomfortable and not quite herself in interviews. So I think that by acknowledging that we all have fear, it also helps us to extend some compassion, both toward ourselves, but also to others, because it helps us. It's just a reminder that we are more alike than we are different. That's one of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou. We are more alike than we are unalike. And so the process that I'm going to share with everybody today is something that you can use, very simple. It'll take you less than a minute, and you can just repeat it over and over as needed whenever you're feeling a little bit of anxiety or fear in a new direction that you might want to take in your career, maybe an interview process that you are starting on, maybe an idea for a business that you would like to start. But you can also take and apply this process to other areas in your life. All right, so we're going to get started here in just a moment, and stay till the end, because at the very end, I'm going to give you the very simple process, but in between, I'm also going to give you an expanded version that will help you in overcoming your challenges and in achieving your career goals. But again, you can take and apply these 5 steps, and then the process to manage and overcome fear in any area in your life. And first, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Amy Miller. I offer career coaching and hiring process consulting, and also interview coaching. I have coming up on 20 years of experience, both with medical sales and then industry recruiting, and also coaching. So I do have, if you're interested in connecting and or let's see, connecting on coaching, consulting, but also if you might be interested in scheduling a workshop at your college and or organization, you are welcome to reach out. My email and website and calendar booking links are going to be in the description below. So that's all there for you. Okay, but first, back to a process to help you manage and overcome fear. As with anything, awareness is always the first step. You want to acknowledge your emotions. And I think a lot of times what we do is we ignore our unpleasant, uncomfortable uncomfortable emotions. Why? Because they don't feel good. But this is when we don't acknowledge our emotions, the positive emotions and the negative emotions, we are missing very important signs that are showing up to guide us in a direction, to guide you in a direction. So let's say you're feeling a super positive, excitable, curious emotion about an idea that you get. Well, what is your next step after that? A lot of times we shut down our idea before we give ourselves some time to actually process it. And the same can be true with our negative and or fear-based emotions. We want to feel good naturally. And so when we have an emotion that doesn't feel good, a lot of times we can try to ignore it, try to push it down, try to push it away. We can try to distract ourselves with instant gratification. But then what happens? And I'm sure that you've experienced this probably many times in your life, as I have as well, maybe along your career path too, is that problem, that uncomfortable emotion gets bigger. Let's say you're staying in a job that, if you are being honest with yourself, you're really not happy in that environment. It really doesn't feel good. But maybe you're ignoring that emotion that is speaking up, trying to point you potentially in a different direction that is maybe meant for you by continuing to apply for promotions within that organization. When, if you're being honest, it really doesn't feel good. So you always want to acknowledge your emotions, the emotions that feel good, the emotions that feel bad, because emotions, unpleasant or positive, are useful tools. This is information showing up to guide your direction. And maybe that direction is a new career path for you to pursue, or maybe it is the direction of looking deeper at a problem that keeps showing up and getting curious about why that problem, that persistent challenge, keeps showing up in your life. The only way that you're going to create change is by first acknowledging the problem or acknowledging the goal, and that starts with an emotion. All right, so your emotions are important, useful tools, and you want to use them to help guide your direction, to help inform your direction. Now, before we get into the actual process of how to manage and overcome fear, why is this important? I'm a really big why person. If I don't understand the reason, the deeper meaning behind something, then I'm probably not going to do the thing. And so I always like to share why I'm speaking on what I'm speaking on. If you are feeling excited about an idea that you get, or curious, maybe an idea keeps popping into your mind, or you keep getting an idea, for example, to reach out to a person, you want to get curious about why that is. And, or maybe on the flip side, you have an unpleasant emotion that keeps showing up. Why does it matter? Why is it important for you to further explore this emotion? And why is it important for you to understand and overcome fear? Because whatever is showing up that is pulling you in a certain direction is for a reason. And that means that you either have something to give there, you have gifts to give in that area, in that space, that are yours to give in only the unique and special way that you can. And when you don't do that, and instead let your actions be driven by a fear-based emotion, well, then you end up denying the world your gifts, because if you're not taking steps in that direction, down that path, you're not going to be able to help the whole group of people in that space that are waiting for what you have to offer there. Or if it's a challenge that keeps showing up, a persistent problem, and you keep ignoring it rather than giving it some attention, well, that problem is going to continue holding you back. And it's important to explore our challenges and to overcome them, because they're likely going to be blocking us until we overcome them. And a lot of times going through the challenge is what equips and prepares us to then give our gifts that we have to give, to then also be prepared for that next opportunity. So this is the reason why it's important to understand, acknowledge, and then overcome the fear so that you can give your gifts. All right, so that's the why. Now let's talk about the how. Well, it starts with the very first step, which is acknowledging the emotion. Awareness creates change, because anytime you allow yourself to, or bring awareness around an emotion, an unpleasant emotion or a positive emotion, hey, I feel really good in this environment, or I'm feeling really good in this interview process, or when I envision myself in this type of role, I get really excited. That's something that you want to acknowledge. And the same thing with fear. Well, I'm feeling excited about this, but wait a minute, what if it doesn't work out? What if I can't? What if I invest my time and my energy? What if I tell people that I'm going after, I'm pursuing this goal, and then it doesn't work out? And then people see that I fail, and then I know that I failed. What if, what if, what if? You want to stop and pause and bring some awareness around the emotion. So we'll go with the negative emotion because we're talking about a process here to manage and overcome fear. So the first step is awareness. You want to acknowledge the unpleasant emotion. So awareness is number one. And again, first I'm going to take you through an expanded process, which is 5 steps. And this process will help you manage and overcome fear, but it is also the process to overcome challenges and the same process to achieve your goals. And then after we go through these 5 steps, the expanded version, I'm going to give you a very simple, I think, 2-step process that'll take you less than a minute to manage and overcome fear. And then you can just repeat it over and over and over anytime you're experiencing fear in your life and or in your career. Okay, so step number 1 is awareness. Acknowledge the emotion. Why is this important? If anytime we ignore our emotions, especially the uncomfortable ones, I say especially, but the uncomfortable ones, but also the positive emotions, but we're gonna stick with the uncomfortable emotions. Again, your emotions are information showing up to guide you. And if you are ignoring that, essentially you are ignoring yourself. And this is why we can sometimes become depressed, become anxious, because if you can't trust yourself, your instincts that are showing up in the form of emotions, then who can you trust? And so then of course that can lead to feeling anxious, but also you're not being true to yourself, and that feels really, really bad. I know from personal experience. So let's say, for example, you're hanging out with a group of people. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's a professional group, maybe it's a group of friends or acquaintances. And if you're really listening to how you're feeling, you don't feel good around those people, but you ignore that emotion to maybe fit in, or because you don't want to rock the boat or speak up, or walk away, because being honest with yourself and with others can be uncomfortable. It doesn't always feel good. But then what feels worse is you're ignoring your uncomfortable emotions and you're just staying in that environment. And that feels really, really bad. Why? Because you are ignoring yourself. You're not acknowledging and being true to and honoring yourself. And it's very important for you to honor yourself. And the more you listen to your emotions, the better you will be able to follow your instincts, which will guide you in the right direction. Then you'll be pointed in the right direction, and you will have more elevated confidence to take the first step and then the next step. So this is why it's so important to acknowledge how it is you're feeling. Okay, so awareness, that's the first step. Acknowledge the uncomfortable emotion. So acknowledge the fear. So let's say you get an idea for a job opportunity that you want to pursue. And the first emotion is excitement, curiosity. You want to go in that direction. But then wait a minute, fear creeps in. What if I don't get it? What if I mess up in the interview process? What if I don't win this customer contract? So that's the fear coming in, and that's the uncomfortable emotion. So then what do you want to do? What is the second step? Go ahead and sit with the discomfort. Feel the feeling, acknowledge the emotion, but then let it exist and let it expand. Let it be there, because awareness, when you ignore the uncomfortable emotion, when you ignore the problem, it's just going to get bigger. The problem needs some attention. So go ahead and give the uncomfortable emotion your attention and sit with the discomfort. All right, so step number 1, awareness, acknowledge the emotion. Step number 2, let it exist and let it expand. And then step number 3, get curious. Get curious about the fear. Why am I feeling this fear? But then I challenge you to get more curious about the first emotion. If you're applying for a job, if you have a career idea, an opportunity, a business idea, whatever it is for you that you want to pursue, what was the first emotion that you felt when you got that idea? I guarantee it was a positive one because you're being pulled in that direction. You're being guided in that direction. Otherwise, why wouldn't you have gotten the idea? And just because you get the idea, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that your first idea is the end goal, but you're being guided in that direction. Maybe it is the end goal, or maybe just by going in that direction, you're going to discover a new or different idea or a new or different direction that you needed to get started down that path in order to receive that idea, that new information. So there's a reason that you're being guided there. So get curious about that. Get curious about the first emotion. And then get excited. This is step number 4. Get excited about your idea. And if this is a process that you're using to overcome a challenge, get excited about overcoming the challenge. If it's a goal that you're looking to pursue, get curious and get excited about how you're going to feel once you do achieve that goal, once you do win the interview, once you do start that new business idea, once you do step into that new role. Get excited. And then step number 5 is to get present and or get started. So this is essentially the same thing. So how do you do that? How do you get present? What do I mean by that? How do you get started? Well, once you acknowledge the idea, the uncomfortable emotion and or the positive emotion, and then you let it exist and expand, this is freeing. You have freed yourself, because think about it, when we are ignoring our emotions, the idea that keeps popping up in the back of our mind, prompting us to try something, and we're ignoring it, that takes work, that takes energy. And also, if you are unhappy with something that's going on, maybe in your current role or in another area in your life, and you keep trying to push away that negative emotion, and I'm speaking from experience, this is practice that the more you do it, the better you will get at it. And I've been practicing it for many, many years now, but still sometimes I have to remind myself to go through the process again. But because I've done it so many times now, and with continued success, then I can catch myself really quickly and go through the steps and continue on my path. But when you are ignoring your uncomfortable emotions or ignoring that idea that is speaking to you for a reason, this takes a lot of work, and it's cluttering up your mind. And then you're not present. You can't focus, you can't hear and then trust and then heed your instincts. But once you free yourself by taking the pressure off and just acknowledging the fear, acknowledging the emotion, even when it feels uncomfortable, you've done just that. You've freed up some space in your mind for an idea to come in. So once you acknowledge the uncomfortable emotion, the fear, identify the problem, you've done the work. Or acknowledge the goal. You've done the work. You're letting it exist and expand in your mind. You've gotten curious, you've gotten excited. Then all you have to do is just get present. So maybe you get an idea. So here's the thing with the present moment and the significance of the present moment. It is the only time, it is the only place where anything ever happens, including where you get your ideas. So let's say you know the direction that you want to go, or maybe you know the end goal. You've got the vision in your mind, but you don't know yet what your first step is. No problem. Relax. Get present. Get started by doing something that you feel like doing, or doing something that you need to get done in that moment. And then you're still staying present. You will get an idea because your mind is clear, it is open, it is free to receive. When you're trying to push down uncomfortable emotions, when you are ignoring the fear, or even worse, leading with the fear, letting it guide your direction, well, there's no space for ideas to come in because you're pushing down your idea. You're not being honest with yourself about what it is you truly want. The moment you choose to start getting honest with yourself, which is challenging, and it is a choice, but the more you choose it, then the more this will just become a habit. And then you're going to get ideas, and you're going to trust those ideas, and you're going to take action faster. So that's step number 5. So this is the expanded version on how to a process to manage and overcome fear. And it's the same process to overcome your challenges and achieve your goals. So let me walk you through that really quick. And then after this, I'm going to share the super simple, I think, 2-step process on how to manage and overcome fear that'll take you less than a minute. And really the 5-step process does too. It just takes a couple minutes. But it can take a lifetime to overcome fear and actually get started on the path that you want to be going down. And it can take so long because we're ignoring what it is we truly want. And so your job, your responsibility is to listen to how you're feeling, let your emotions, the positive emotions, the not, I don't want to say negative because emotions, the good and the bad feeling ones are useful. This is useful information guiding you. And when you listen, even when it's uncomfortable and you sit with that discomfort, you can overcome the discomfort, move through it faster, and get going down your path that is not going to show up until you step onto it and create it. Oh, I'm excited about this word, equifinality. I learned it a couple weeks ago in one of my classes for my master's program, and then I got to use it in the workshop I did at the college, and then now I'm finding an opportunity to use it here. If you are not familiar with that word, equifinality or equifinality, I have to make sure I'm saying it correctly, but it just means that there are many different paths that can lead to the same outcome. So what does that mean? I think this is such a powerful word and concept because it takes the pressure off of having to figure out your path before you get started. And this is what keeps a lot of people stuck on their career path and their career direction, because they don't get started and don't want to get started, don't feel comfortable getting started until they know what each step is going to look like. But this is impossible. And there are so many different ways to get to the same goal. And so you're going to create, how are you going to get started? By creating your path, by stepping onto it. And the sooner you start paying attention to how you're feeling, acknowledge the fear, acknowledge the emotion, the positive one, then the not so good feeling one, the faster you're going to take that first step, and then the next step will show up. The step number 2 cannot show up without you taking the first step. Okay. So, yeah. So if these 5 steps, awareness, if you're looking to overcome a challenge, first you have to acknowledge the challenge, acknowledge the problem. If there's a persistent, uncomfortable feeling that keeps, and situation, that keeps showing up for you, maybe you left one job because of how you felt, but you didn't solve the deeper issue, and then you find another organization, that same problem is going to show up again, or it could be in a different area in your life. And the same is true for me too. Same challenge, different people, different situations, many years until I got curious enough to figure out what the problem was. So we always want to dig deeper, acknowledge the emotion, and then you start to dig deeper. And this is an iterative process. One step naturally follows the next, which makes it a little bit easier. So step number 1, if you're looking to overcome a challenge, acknowledge the uncomfortable emotion. 2, sit with the discomfort. Let it exist, let it expand. Step number 3, get curious about it. Why am I feeling this way? What happens that leads to this emotion? Why does this emotion show up over here and over here and over here? What's the common denominator? Keep getting curious. It doesn't feel that great, but it's going to help you better understand yourself. And the more you learn to understand yourself, you can give yourself what you need, and that is truly empowering, because then you're not looking outside of yourself for validation or for the answer. It's within you. Okay, so awareness, acknowledge the emotion, get curious, or let it exist and expand. Get curious, get excited about overcoming the challenge. And then, step number 5, get present and or get started. Do what you have to do. If you have your idea, go ahead and write it down, or take that first step right then. And if you don't have your idea, just go ahead and do what you need to do, and it'll pop into your mind later. You will get an idea. The answers are within you, but you have to be listening to yourself in order to hear yourself. And that same challenge, or that same process rather, you can use in working toward your goal. So you have to first acknowledge the goal, the emotion, the feeling, what it is you want, awareness. And then number 2, let it exist, let it expand before pushing it down when that fear creeps in. And then you want to get curious about it. I wonder what that might feel like once I start down that path. I wonder who I might meet that's going to help me along the journey. And then get excited. So again, an iterative process. Once you get curious, you're going to start getting excited. And then you're going to start getting ideas, because you freed your mind for yourself to receive the ideas. All right, so that's the 5-step process to overcome challenges, achieve your goals. And now, what is a super simple process to super simple process to manage and overcome fear? First, let's define fear. Let me get a sip of water real quick. I like looking, I like to have a deeper understanding of things. So sometimes, even if I know the word, the meaning, I might look it up anyway. And I like doing this because I often learn something new, as I did with fear, what I call fear versus intuition. So, the definition of fear, if you look in the dictionary, this is what you're going to find, or something super similar, is an unpleasant emotion caused by a belief of something that might cause pain or danger. So, again, fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by a belief of something that might happen. That's the definition of fear. Now, intuition, your instinct, on the other hand, what is the definition of intuition? The ability to understand immediately without the need for conscious reasoning. Immediate understanding without the need for conscious reasoning. And of course, this is by design. Your instincts are by design inherent to keep you safe, to keep you protected, even to keep you alive. So if your instincts, question, are strong enough to keep you safe, protected, and alive, couldn't they also be strong enough to guide you in the right direction? But we don't listen, and life can be so much easier getting moving along your career path faster towards your goals, faster overcoming your challenges faster, can be so much easier just by listening to yourself. You have the answers within you, but when we ignore our uncomfortable emotions or our excitable, curious ideas and emotions, then we create delays on our paths. And now, don't beat yourself up if you are creating these delays. Oh my goodness, I have done that as well. Many, many times. I took about 20 years, I won't get deep into this now because I talk about it in other videos, to overcome one of my biggest challenges. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do, offering the coaching and making the videos, is because I want to help others get there faster. Now that I know the process, it took me a long time to figure it out, but it doesn't have to take you that long. I'm giving you the process, so take it and use it. Okay, so we defined rather, fear and then intuition. Now, second question, by definition, which emotion happens first? Your intuition, immediate understanding without the need for conscious reasoning. There's a little hint there in the definition, immediate, or fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by a belief of what might happen. Now, it only takes a moment, but it still takes a moment. Fear takes thinking, it takes logic, unless your fear is keeping you safe, in which case it is your instinct. So if you're walking down the street and a car is coming at you, it doesn't see you for whatever reason, your instinct is going to kick in right away. Fear will be your first emotion so that you break into a sprint and get out of the way. So we need fear. Fear is useful, but not unless you're in danger. And so if you are taking steps in a direction based on a fear-based emotion, derived from a fear-based emotion, wouldn't it make sense that you're going in the wrong direction? Okay, so here's the process. Acknowledge the fear anytime you feel it, but then choose to focus on, well, ask yourself which emotion came first. If you get an idea and you feel curious or excited, I want to reach out to this person. Oh, wait a minute. What if they think I'm stupid? What if they don't pick up? Okay, I'm not gonna call them. Well, then you just based a decision on fear and your path is delayed. You don't have to create delays on your path. All you have to do, this is the process, is observe and choose. Observe the uncomfortable emotion, choose to focus back on the positive one. And I remember when I very first started this process, you may have heard me talk about this in other videos, but it's a great story. So I'll just share super quick and hopefully it'll help you. And I bet you have gone through the same process, just maybe not thought about it in this way in other areas in your life before, maybe career, maybe something else. Where your outcome was positive. I bet you did the same process, you just maybe aren't thinking about it. So you can do this. But anyhow, I wanted to move to New York. I finally started to try and I got my first interview and I was really excited. And then all of a sudden I got scared. And I ran into a friend, just an acquaintance really. We weren't even close friends. And she said to me, "Why wouldn't you get it? Of course you'll get it. Why wouldn't you get it?" And I thought, "Oh my goodness, wow, what a positive outlook. I could just adopt that outlook. That's going to be my new outlook. Of course I'll get it. Why wouldn't I get it?" So yes, I got nervous again. I got scared again throughout that day, from that day leading up to the interview. But I would just observe the fear Always observe the fear, always observe the uncomfortable emotion. Why? Because otherwise you are denying yourself, and that feels really bad. So don't do that. It's okay to, feelings are important. Remember, you can even thank the fear. I know you're showing up to protect me, but I don't need it in this scenario. I'm not in danger. I got this. I'm being called in this direction for a reason. And the more you listen to and trust your instincts and go through this process and choose the action that is based on that positive emotion, you are going to move through your career path and whatever other area in your life that you take and apply this process to faster. And you're going to elevate your confidence, your belief in yourself. You're going to overcome your challenges and achieve your goals faster. So the process is to acknowledge the uncomfortable emotion, so awareness, and so that's observe. The process is observe and choose. Observe the uncomfortable emotion. Okay, which one came first? And then choose to focus back on the positive emotion. And by focusing your energy and attention on that positive emotion, you're going to show up better too. So you're going to be better received by your customer. You're going to be more likely to win that contract, to win the interview, because you're going to be showing up in a more genuine and authentic way because you're feeling good. So that's the process. And obviously I had a lot of fun talking about it. I get really excited and passionate talking about this process and this concept, fear versus intuition. That is all for today. If you enjoyed the video and got some value, I invite you to like and subscribe, leave a comment. You can share the video. That will help me grow the channel. And if you're interested in connecting to see if I might be able to help you personally, if you're looking for a coach, again, I've got my email and my calendar booking links in the description. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.